My name is Justin Hutchison, and I'm a survivor of mental, emotional, and financial abuse by my ex-wife and her family.
Let's talk about something that almost nobody wants to talk about: domestic violence against men, especially when the abuser is a wife. For a long time, society has taught men to be strong, to endure, to stay silent, to never admit pain. So when a man is abused by his wife, emotionally, verbally, financially, or physically, he is often not believed. Sometimes he's laughed at, sometimes he's told to man up, sometimes he's blamed. Today, this video is for the men who survived, for the men who are still surviving, and for anybody that's willing to listen. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the struggles that men go through dealing with domestic violence, especially from their wives. Now, I've put together a few videos of men giving their experiences with domestic abuse. Stay tuned to the end of the video to hear my thoughts and opinions.
I hear people all the time say that men cannot be emasculated unless they choose to be, that men are not abused by women. I'm living proof that men are abused by women. I'm one of the lucky ones. I am still here to tell my story. There's been so many men over the years that have lost their lives battling depression and hopelessness because of the mental, emotional, and financial abuse they went through. I'm a man, and I've gone through some of the worst abuse possible. I've been told that my story doesn't matter. It does matter. And it's time that we change our perception on men and the abuse they go through in marriages and divorce. I am a survivor, and my story does matter.
I never knew what other people might believe, because she'd said that she'd told people that I was abusing her. She used to shout things out of the window. She'd say that she'd told her friends that I was hurting her, and she'd sent pictures of bruises on her wrists and things to her friends. So at that point then, I thought, well, I'll gather my own evidence then to show that it's not her that's been abused, it's me that's been abused. I'm Richard Spencer, and I'm a survivor of female domestic abuse. The first time I met Cherie, it was on a night out in Leeds. We were in a nightclub, and I'd seen her across the dance floor, and the first thing that struck me, I guess, was that she was attractive. She wore nice clothes, and she looked really confident and happy. She was dancing away on the dance floor, and the bar had shut. We couldn't get any drinks anymore because it was quite late in the evening. But Cherie said that she knew someone could get us some drinks, and so we went over to the bar, and she knew some people working behind the bar, and she managed to get some drinks. And my friends all thought it was, fantastic that I'd met this girl, and she could get drinks when the bar had shut. And then we agreed that we were going to go on a date, and we made plans then to. I think we went to the cinema, and that was the first date we went on, and things progressed from there really. I think things probably got more serious when I'd got my job at BT, and I needed to move away, so I was moving away quite far away down to Ipswich. So I'd got myself a flat down in Ipswich, and she came down to join me after a few months after I'd moved in, when her university degree finished. The first time that things got violent, as I remember, we'd been for a night out, we'd had a nice time with our friends, but on the way back something had happened which Cherie wasn't happy about. And then when we got back to the flat where we were living at the time, she was quite angry, and I remember her throwing a vase onto the floor and the vase breaking, and then she kind of pushed me and slapped me, and just was like quite aggressive in a tone of voice and the way she was speaking to me. The next day she apologised and put it down to having too much to drink, and said that it wouldn't happen again, and told me how much she loved me. And that kind of pattern went on for quite a while. Incidents would happen, and then the next day she would apologise and say it'll never happen again. And she would seem genuine. She would write notes sometimes, or buy me cards and write nice little cards saying how sorry she was, and saying she loves me and it won't happen again. But inevitably, unfortunately, yeah, it did. Incidents didn't stop, and it did happen again.
I've opened the can of worms about domestic violence against men at the hands of women, so let's talk about it. I'm going to talk about my experience. I gave my ex-wife about a year, and I thought to myself, if she is nice to me for one day in that entire year, I would stay. If she didn't say something horrible, if she didn't yell at me, if she didn't call me names, that I would stay. That obviously didn't happen. And I left. And my life is so much better for having left. One of the things I do want to say is that coercive control is a form of domestic violence. I said I was broken. I turned into a shell of a human compared to what I was. And there's a lot of stories I could tell, and I probably will. But getting to the point of having all of your friends and family removed, not having access to money, not being able to go out with workmates is all a form of control. I was not allowed to do anything without my ex-wife. And any time that we saw somebody that she didn't like, she made sure it was very clear in the way home, in the car on the way home, that she didn't like them or hated them. And it became easier to slowly cut people off. It is like boiling a frog. It is like death by 1,000 cuts. Slowly but surely, all of support networks were eroded away. And I really thought when I left that I would be left with nothing and no one, which thankfully wasn't the case. Finding support was actually really hard because of the comments that have already been made on here. If you mention that you're a man that has experienced domestic violence or are experiencing domestic violence at the hands of a woman, there is a stigma associated with that. Even though we know statistically that 1 in 16 men are experiencing this, and there is not a lot of support out there. There's not a lot of government funding out there. And there is a reason why the unaliving rate in men is so high, because sometimes that way out is seen as the easier option. And I know that all too well. So if you're a man that is going through this right now, if you're experiencing domestic violence at the hands of a woman, please reach out to men's health lines, to support helplines. And all I can say is life does get much better. It is really hard, but life does get better.
We can't even call the cops. I was the one who's...
Sadly, stories like this are all too common. So common for me that it actually happened back in 2013, 2014. My ex, the mother of my oldest child, she started getting violent and abusive to me when she fell pregnant. All of a sudden the hormones changed and she just became this crazy, controlling, vindictive, emotionally abusive, physically abusive, just monster. 2014, when I broke up with her, I was going to move out. My daughter was about 9 months old and I was packing up my stuff in my room. She came home from work, burst in the door and started screaming at me whilst my 9-month-old was on the floor. She then started proceeding to push, punch, slap, scratch, kick, all the rest of the things, whilst my 9-month-old was on the floor behind me as I was trying to, stop her and calm her down. I then pick up my daughter whilst she was on the floor screaming, trying to calm her down, whilst also trying to fend off my ex, and she kept going. I then took her out to get her a bottle, settle her down because it was about nap time for her, and then all of a sudden there was a knife sitting on the bench. My ex, she lunged at the knife and I pushed her away. She then ran into the bedroom and proceeded to call the cops, said that I bashed her, and then locked herself into the bedroom. Cops come, I walk out the front. I was calm throughout this entire thing. Cops come, I walk out the front, I greet the police officers, I talk to them and say, hey, this is what's going on. I'm prepared to remain calm and talk rationally and all the rest of the things. I want to make sure that this is aired out because what happened is absolutely fucking bullshit. And then the cops took her side. I'm the one who got arrested. I'm the one who got taken to Southport Watch House. I'm the one who got put on a good behaviour bond, all because she started a fight with me and I defended myself to not get stabbed. I then had to go do a men's behaviour change program to prove to the eye of the courts and to the police and everything that I was safe for my daughter to be around. This story is super fucking common. I've coached a couple of guys through domestic violence scenarios, and it's always about cover your tracks, cover your ass, make sure you've got things in documents, make sure you've got evidence, make sure you've got everything, because the fucking system is out to get you as a man. And this isn't some victim piece. This is a almost survivor piece. This is a piece of power, because men need to know what they're up against when it comes to females and the law. You're going to get fucked over. If you are a straight white male in the Western world, I don't know what happens in America, but at least in Australia, you're going to be fucked by the long dick of the law. And they're going to take her side, not your side, even if you're the one to call the cops and to say, this is what's going on, my ex or my partner is abusing me, she's physical with me, or financially abusive, emotionally, whatever it is. They will take their side. So much so that one of my clients actually went to the police station to lodge a DV claim for his ex because she hit him and in front of their children and screamed at him and all the rest of the things, and they laughed at him. Be safe, man. You need to look after yourself. You need to protect yourself, and you need to make sure that you have screenshots, text messages, call logs, voice recordings, as many things as evidence to prove that you are safe, that you're not the one in the wrong, because it's the way that we got to do it.
Thankfully, my story has a happy ending, unlike so many others. I have full custody of my daughter. I have no idea where my ex is. I keep getting little updates here and there that she's incarcerated in and out of prison somewhere in Australia. And everything's all good for us. We're happy, we're healthy, and we don't have to worry about any of the traumas of the past. We've each gone through counseling. We've each gone through a bunch of other modalities to make sure that we can integrate and heal those parts of ourselves from our past, as I hope all of you guys out there do. This is one of the major reasons why I'm a men's coach. It's one of the major reasons why I help people and just give as authentically and as vulnerably as possible, because stories will help transform lives. My story of success might be the thing that helps another bloke or another woman go out and get the help that they need to leave an abusive relationship. You're not alone. Look after yourself.
I am the victim of domestic abuse. Over the course of the last 3.5 years, I have been emotionally abused and psychologically abused, cut off, and isolated. While yes, I may have a phone and a communication device, I have no friends. The few that I did have happened to be female. Well, naturally, I wasn't allowed to talk to them anymore. But, she has a couple of guy friends, but they're only friends. And she just happened to call me one of their names while we were playing around, while we were naked. I guess the thing I should just explain that set this whole thing off and just made me so that I've had enough was the incident the other day where her mother tried to call her out for her attitude. And when she came to me looking for backup by literally trying to throw me under the bus, when I tried to correct her, she suddenly felt that we were both against her, and she threatened to leave. When her mom told her that I could stay here for a bit because I wasn't being emotionally irrational, she then tried to claim that I had put my hands on her plenty of times. Well, then her mother started talking about kicking me out. I mean, I knew I wasn't going to have a chance to defend myself. Why the hell would she ever believe me? So I set down my car keys and my debit card. Why? Oh, because every time we have a single argument, since her name is the only one that's on the car, it's her car. I'm not allowed to have it. If we get into an argument and I try to leave in that car, she'll call the cops and report it stolen. And yes, she has called the cops on several occasions on me because I was raising my voice. It didn't matter that she would be emotionally out of control and attacking me. The second that I lost my temper and my voice got elevated, she called the cops and told them I was being threatening and that she felt threatened. So, no access to money because it's her account. Because for the last year, which I will explain momentarily, I have not had a job. I promise you there's a reason I'm not a bum. So I haven't had access, so I have no access to a car, so I'm stranded. I have no access to money, so I'm broke. I have no home to go to, so I'm homeless. And of course, I start walking out with a phone that is on a payment plan that, she and her mother are currently paying. She follows me out of the house. She follows me down the driveway. She is hurling insults and abuse at me the entire time, and then says that if I leave, she will call the cops and say that I stole the phone. So now she wants me with no money, no vehicle, and no way to communicate. That is literally the definition of domestic abuse. And of course, she checks every single box for cheating. The best friend that are guys. The swearing that she's never slept with them. As a matter of fact, she swore up and down she hadn't had sex in 10 years. Granted, I can't get her to stay off of me. The fact that she constantly accused me of cheating, despite the fact that at one point we were literally around each other 24 hours a day. We lived together and worked together. Now you might ask yourself, well, get recordings of it, get video of it. I mean, if you're going to be stranded, at least get evidence of it so you can, make her accountable. Okay, well, she goes through my phone regularly. She checks all of my messages. She's caught me trying to record her once. Apparently, I forgot to close the app out, and she was going through them and closing them. When she saw that I had a few recordings, she decided to check them out. Now, she tried to give me a chance to admit that I'd been doing it by saying, "Did you have anything you want to tell me?" Mind you, the recording at this point was several weeks old, so it was furthest thing from my mind, but I knew she was trying to drop a hint. So, yeah, and I can't buy a recording device because even when I do have access to money, one, I have to ask permission. I'm not allowed to buy anything. But also, she has a notification on the account, so anytime I spend more than $1, she is made aware of it. And believe me, she will be made aware and hold me accountable for every single penny. So it doesn't matter how cheap it is. I won't be able to hide it. Now you ask yourself, well, wouldn't homeless be better? Now you might ask yourself, well, if it's just so bad, why leave? Why stay? We had twins last year. That's why I didn't work. I told you there would be a reason. I'm not just a bum. No matter what I might look like. Somebody has to protect these children. Because I could go to anybody and they wouldn't listen. Because the courts don't care about men. They see men as paychecks. And believe me, unless you have a really, really big paycheck and can afford one of those nice fancy lawyers to go in there and tell them, hey, look, this guy has proof, they're not gonna listen. And I don't have proof because she checks my phone. So, yeah, I stay because somebody has to protect these children from her. Because she's lost her temper with them before. 100%. Matter of fact, when the little girl, it's a girl and a boy, they were 3 months premature. We struggled for a couple months. They spent in the NICU. She was about 4 months old at home, and she wouldn't stop crying. And this woman screamed in her face, "I'm going to fucking leave!" Now she'll say, I didn't scream in her face. I was holding her at arm's length. If I'm this close to you and screaming, am I still in your face? Because I guarantee you'd probably think it. And I have much longer arms than she does. So this is just my last Hail Mary. I doubt anything will come of it. And the worst case scenario that might come of it, it goes ultra viral. And she somehow manages to see it. And then I lose my kids because of it. So I don't even know what I'm doing. I guess I'm just sending a message out there so that other men know that they're not alone. It happens a lot more than they think. They just focus on the fact that men are bigger and meaner and scarier. They don't understand the psychological manipulations and abuse that a man can go through, especially if he has children that he cares about. Now, make no mistake, I am in no way in this relationship blameless. I am not innocent, and when I lose my temper, I will call her things that I shouldn't. She's particularly unintelligent. That is not an insult, that is a factual reality. This is the type of woman who got jealous that I was hugging women while I was at a family function and they were my cousins. And yeah, while we may live in the dirty South, no, thank you. I think that our neighbors in Alabama are actually the ones who kind of do that thing. She's also the type of person who thinks that any type of criticism is an attack or an insult. The other day, when we had our last incident where her mother was trying to correct her behavior because she was losing her temper on the children, my thing that I said was that she was having trouble with emotional regulation, and that stress set her off and caused her to have a meltdown in which she would attack people. Like, it's everybody, it's just my fault. Oh, everything's my fault. You literally need everybody. And then she'd say something like how she should just leave since she's the problem. Not realizing that if she takes the kids, that's actually the biggest problem. Despite my insistence every single time that all we wanted was for her to calm down, all she wanted to do was leave. And mind you, now that you have that proper context for the other day, when she said she was going to leave, she has nowhere to go. This is a perfectly safe environment. She would have been taking them to a homeless shelter because she couldn't handle the fact that we told her she needed to calm down. I am not joking. She has the mind of a child and the temper of an adult. And the thing is, it's not like it's just me. She will abuse customer service people. She will abuse people, cashiers. She will abuse the wait staff. She will abuse managers. She is 110% a fucking Karen. So she treats everybody with the same amount of disrespect. And then when people sit there and try and put her in her place, she acts like a victim. I'm not perfect. I am an asshole. But I'm also being abused.
When people hear domestic violence, they often imagine bruises or broken bones. But abuse is not only physical. Domestic violence can look like constant insults and humiliation, threats to take the children away, false accusations, financial control, isolation from friends and family, monitoring phones and movements, destroying property, sexual coercion, and gaslighting. Many men don't recognize this as abuse because it doesn't match with what they were taught abuse looks like. And when physical violence does happen, men are often the last ones to believe. Men don't stay in abusive marriages because they're weak. They stay because they feel ashamed. They stay because they fear losing their children. Because they fear not being loved. They fear being arrested instead, or just being mocked by society. Some men report abuse and then end up the ones being removed from the home. Some men call for help and then they're told, there's nothing we can do. Many men say nothing at all. Many men say nothing at all because silence feels safer than humiliation. Acknowledging male victims does not erase female victims. Two things can be true at the same time. Women can be victims and women can be the abusers. Abuse is about power and control, not gender. Some abusive wives use emotional manipulation, threats involving the children, false police reports, public humiliation, weaponizing tears, using social bias as a shield. And because society often assumes women are always the victim, men are often left defenseless. Men who survive domestic violence often experience depression, anxiety, PTSD, sleep disorders, substance abuse, suicidal thoughts, but many never seek help. Why? Because asking for help feels like a failure. Because they are told, you're lucky she stayed. Because nobody taught them it's okay to be hurt. Abuse rewires the brain. Abuse rewires the brain. It erodes self-worth. It creates confusion, fear, and isolation. And yes, men feel trauma deeply. If you're watching this and thinking, that sounds like my life, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not weak. You're not crazy. You're not less of a man. Being abused does not cancel your strength. Surviving abuse proves your resilience. You deserve safety. You deserve peace. You deserve to be loved. There is help. There is help. There are therapists to understand male survivors. There are hotlines that listen. There are legal paths that protect you. You're not alone, even if you feel like you are. We need to change how we talk about domestic violence. What we need is gender-inclusive support services, fair legal processes, education that abuse has no gender, space for men to speak without ridicule. Silencing male victims does not protect women. It protects abusers. If this video made you uncomfortable, good. Growth often starts there. If this video helped you feel seen, I'm glad you stayed. And if you're a survivor, your story matters. And if you're listening to this for the first time, thank you for listening. Silence protects abuse. Silence protects abuse, but speaking out saves lives.